Everyone should get a chance to get up and say some lines or make a costume or light something. And it's to do with community involvement. So it's why I hired mainly talented people who didn't have a lot of acting experience. And that's been really valuable for them. And I hope to make more productions in the future. And with a variety of different styles and methods. I've already got some other ideas for plays that we could stage. This was really like a sort of introduction to Koh Phangan. Here we are, this is what we want to do.
Welcome to this new episode, and today I am here with Bill. How are you, Bill?
I'm very well, thank you, Luca. Thank you for having me.
Very good. So Bill is an actor and director of theatre, and you got a play coming up very soon. So I'm very interested in learning more about your background first. So what's your story in life?
Well, I was introduced to theatre basically as soon as I was born. My father was running a theatre company. He was a child actor, and he later started a theatre company with Kenneth Branagh called the Renaissance Theatre Company. And so that's how he met my mother, who was a costume designer at the Greenwich Theatre in London on one of his shows, and they started working together. And they had me. She was touring, they were both touring whilst I was in utero, and yeah, so I was literally born into the theatre world. They were very much focused on Shakespeare most of the time, but a lot of amazing actors came through that company. That developed and became a film company, which he still does. He's a film producer now. My mum's still in costume. She's just starting to retire. Yeah, so I was always very much in that world. When my earliest memories of being looked after, babysat by actors sitting on Helena Bonham Carter's lap and being toured around film sets and theatres backstage. My mum worked in the Globe Theatre for a long time, making costumes for the Shakespeare's Globe. So I was always around some really, really amazing people as a child, and I never really got along well with school. I never really understood it. I was a bit of a rebel and never doing the work, and so I kind of worked out at an early age. Well, it's like, well, this is something I'm good at. People say I'm good at it, and I really enjoyed doing it. And guess what? You don't need any exam qualifications to be an actor. It was something I was told quite early. They were like, look, there are these amazing, very highly competitive drama schools in England that you could potentially go to, and you don't need to pass any exams as a kid. So of course, as a kid, I thought, fantastic. I'll just do nothing at school, and when I'm 18, I'll start auditioning for drama schools, which I pretty much did. So I waited until I was about 21. I did some real jobs and things, and then I started auditioning for the big drama schools in the UK. And after the first year, where I got very close but I didn't get in anywhere, I tried again the next year. So I was coming up to the age 22. And I was lucky enough to get an offer from two of the best drama schools, RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School. And so I decided to go to RADA, which is where my godfather, John Sessions, had gone. It's where Kenneth Branagh, my dad's business partner, had gone. Countless other family friends had gone there. And I really had the best 3 years of my life there, and for the first time a true sense of education in the real sense, where I was actually interested in the work we were doing and engaged. And I feel like I studied so many different points in history because of the plays we were doing. I learned so much about my body and my voice and people. It was like so many subjects all rolled into one vocational active training course. So I did that. After that, I worked in the industry a little bit. I was on stage in the West End. I did some film work, some commercials, but I sort of realized by that point that the industry wasn't really what I wanted to do with my art, because it was quite cutthroat, very elitist, and not quite as inclusive for the people. So I decided to go traveling for quite a while, as you do, and explore the world and find myself and do a variety of different jobs and meet more people, which is just perfect inspiration for this line of work. And so, yeah, and it took many years before I came here, and of course something about this island will bring out your creative passions again. So suddenly it was reignited, partly inspired by the musical that we did together,
Indeed.
Victoria's musical, that made me think, actually, I would like to put on a play. And the inspiration for that came from one of my acting teachers, who said, you should try directing, and you should have a look at this play. It's a short play, small cast, give it a go. So here I am, finally, many years later, with that dream coming true.
That's amazing indeed. And yes, we had a very good work collaboration as part of Victoria's musical. It was very good fun. Yeah, you were playing the shaman, and everybody was very impressed with indeed your performance there. It was very good fun to have you around. And I didn't know actually you had such a family background in the art. Okay, in the arts. It's very, very, very interesting indeed. And so you have this formal education first, then loads of experiences traveling the world, meeting people, just living life. And is this the first play you actually direct yourself?
It's the first play I've ever tried directing myself.
Wow.
So I was really I drew a lot of inspiration from the amazing directors that I've had the pleasure of working with over the years, and especially my acting teacher, John Boskitzer, who was really, had all these incredible techniques of how to really get into the character. And I think when I first started the project, I sort of treated it a bit more like an acting class, which it was a learning process for me, this whole journey. And I think I quickly realized, I was like, actually, no, just trust in the actors to do their job, get the blocking and the lines learned, and just get on with it. And so, I've learned a lot from this journey. I really have.
That's very cool. And okay, let's delve into the play itself, which is going to be shown. You have 3 dates. The first one coming up in 2 or 3 days, literally on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, yeah.
And okay, first of all, what is your sort of passion for Sartre?
Well, I had learned about Sartre many years ago, and started to familiarize myself with his work. I think partly because we'd had a lot of the same thoughts. It's really interesting when you read certain philosophers and you're like, well, I thought about that and I'd realized that. I just wasn't able to put it quite as eloquently as you. And I think sort of partly through my own existential crises that he really interested me, and I think he's got a fascinating life. But this play is, it's very much an exploration and a representation of a lot of his philosophical ideas, which I think is a far more entertaining way of getting your messages across. Sometimes non-fiction works can be quite wordy and hard to focus on. And I think to bring it to life using real people and to show those ideas through a story, I think is a far more gripping way of exploring his ideas. So the play, it deals with a lot of his ideas. One of them is the idea of what he called the look, which is being seen, being the idea of a consciousness being observed by another consciousness. And sort of it acting as a mirror for yourself, to see yourself through someone else's eyes and to realize yourself being seen. It's a very interesting part of the story that there are no mirrors in this room. Just to give you a little background, the play is all set in one room with 3 recently deceased people. They are guided into this room by a mysterious valet and told that this is hell.
Wow.
It's told that this is hell, and they quite quickly realize that there's no instruments of torture.
Okay.
So they start to figure out that it's the source of Sartre's famous quote, "Les enfermés des autres," which means hell is other people. Mm-hmm. So they are just perfectly combined people locked in a room together to make each other suffer for eternity.
So the personalities and the characters are all opposing views, or they're just not compatible?
It's a very like complex sort of vicious circle of abuse. They all are chasing after each other in different ways, looking for external validation, looking for love, looking for all sorts of things, and then they annoy each other in just this awful, in just this such a way that they could torture each other forever. So it's and it plays with a lot of concepts of like right and wrong, how you see yourself, and the characters are very complex people and very real people. You see a man who has always tried to be a real man, to be tough. It reminds me a lot, actually. The male character reminds me almost of John Lennon in a way, because he's got this external message of pacifism and peace and love, but then in his private life he's abusive to his family. And it's that represents the duality of man, and perhaps the way that we overcompensate with the way we want to be seen. So he's a really interesting character in that way. And then the two women, we have a younger girl who is always seeking the external validation of men, but won't get it from him. And then we have a psychopathic lesbian who is desperate to own and control this younger girl, but will never catch her because she's obsessed with this man.
Wow, perfect.
And at the same time, she hates men. So and he wants her validation because she's the strong, powerful woman, and if he can get her validation, then he can sort of be saved in that way. So they're chasing after each other in this vicious circle, and it's very entertaining to watch. So the play was written in 1944, and of course the original is in French. And the only English adaptation is very old-fashioned, stiff upper lip. And so I decided that actually it'd be better if I retranslated the play myself and did a modern adaptation, and also took some more liberties with the language, because of course writing in 1944 there was a lot more restrictions of what was acceptable on the stage. So I started to look into perhaps what it was that Sartre's intention was with certain moments, and heighten those and bring them into the modern world, and make it a little bit more intense and suitable for audiences of this day. And I think what we've co-created, I took a lot of help and support from my cast in terms of adapting. It was a really collaborative effort, and I think we've made something that's actually looking really, really good, and I think will be quite a powerful presence on the stage.
When you adapted the play to a modern audience and modern times, I mean, did you start from the French or the English side?
I started with the French. I took the French original. I compared it to what had been adapted in English. I think there's been a few adaptations. There was only a couple that I could get hold of. But I watched a lot of different versions. There was a BBC TV version in the 60s. There was a version made in 1944, and I looked at those as well, but mainly sticking to the French, and I'd cut out certain bits that I didn't think maybe relate, but also were quite difficult to stage. For example, the furniture is supposed to be in the Second Empire style, which is an old-fashioned interior design. And I thought we should cut that, for example. It was sort of unnecessary. Sartre actually intended this to be a comedy, and there are some very comedic moments, but there's some very intense darkness to it. And I think there's a funny balance of like you find yourself laughing and then you find yourself quite shocked by what's happening and then laughing again and then shocked. So it's a very interesting journey in that sense. But yeah, I chose this play for a number of reasons. Number one was I wanted to start with something fairly simple to stage, something that did not involve a lot of props, costume changes, technical cues, lighting, sound, scene changes, etc.
Yeah.
And something a little bit shorter than your usual play for our modern audience and their shorter attention spans.
Yeah, that's true as well, right?
So like that was definitely a big part of choosing this play as a first thing to direct. It's got a small cast, so my thought was surely not much can go wrong if I only have to deal with 4 actors. And after a little while, we had two drop out because this island, you leave, you come back, you suddenly find yourself wanting to go somewhere. We're all backpackers, we're all nomads, so that happens. And I was really pleased to work with those guys for the time that they were here, and I think they got a lot out of it. Mostly not working with people with a lot of acting experience, and I think it was a really good thing for them to have a moment where they could play and become someone else for a little bit. But yeah, so I never intended originally to be acting in it myself, but I have ended up acting in it now. And
what character do you play?
I play the only male in the play.
Yeah, yes, okay.
The man I was speaking about earlier.
The one that
the pacifist.
On one side is very sort of righteous and have very high morals and ethics, and then on the other side, in private life, instead, is an abuser.
There's an abuser, has a terrible temper and a really misogynistic way of treating women. Yeah.
That's quite interesting indeed, It's like, I'm sure the characters are going to be so varied and interesting that we'll find some parts of us in all of them, or we'll find some parts of our parents or friends, partners.
Exactly.
Because there's lots of psychology there, right?
Yes.
And I think, as you said, as you go through the play, possibly different emotions will be steered, and you said there's comedic aspects to it, but also there's quite a bit of drama and tragedy even, yes. So it's I love when stories bring together different elements and they entertain, but also they leave you with a message of sort. So they make you think about your life and yourself. And this play's got the potential to do that for sure. Right?
For sure, that was my intention with it. That I think that theatre should, leave you with something to think about. To shock you in a way that you're suddenly confronted with certain things that that may be in the back of your mind, but were now explored in this way. It's a very sort of cathartic way to deal with certain issues and to bring certain things up. I think to convey certain messages, and I think that was always the original intention of theatre. Even going back to the Greeks and the Romans was to really leave an impact and make people think about something differently.
Indeed. I think the performing arts in general, they have many benefits, and some benefits are more spiritual in nature, some are more psychological in nature, some are more entertaining and heartwarming. But indeed, the wonderful aspects of playing the heart is indeed that you're playing with emotions, and you're also playing with real life and represent it in a way that people can relate to. And it's wonderful. That could be a ballet, could be a musical performance, or indeed a play. And it's fantastic that we can do things like this here in Koh Phangan. And thank you very much for doing it. And also the adaptation of the original to your version, that's a work, a valuable work already. Are you planning to sort of publish it? Or?
I would like to, and see if it gets picked up. See if I'd keep it open source and say anyone is happy to use this and change it as they will, and mess around with it. I kept it as a sort of loose version that you could add little bits or take it away depending on how you wanted to stage it, as a sort of like making a video game open source and adding your modifications to it. You know, that you can put the Second Empire furniture back in, or change it to minimalist postmodern, or, you know, whatever you want to do with it. There's lots of references to hair color and eye color and the shape of the sofas and things like that, which of course needs to be flexible depending on what you have available. Yeah. So yeah, sort of open source it would I think would be nice, because I think this play it hasn't been done in a while. It isn't done very often, and I think that's partly because it has aged badly in the translation, and so it needed to be updated, because it is a powerful story.
For sure. Okay, so this is going to happen, and we're all very excited to be to be in the audience for sure and watch it. And then, what are your plans for the future? I mean, as we mentioned already, this is the first time you actually direct a play, and the experience is going to be very valuable for you. Hopefully, it's going to prompt you to do more in the future.
That is the plan, yeah. So. My original intention with this was that we start a company. We start a theatre company, and we try to put on maybe a show once a month if we can really nail down and do the work. Because I feel like, well, first of all, before Victoria's play, there was no live theatre in Koh Phangan, and it was like, with all the different incredible artists that we have here, it was the one thing that was really missing. So, and as I said, I think it's a really valuable and essential part of a community to give everyone a chance to be a part of that storytelling process. And I don't think, which is why I moved away from the industry in the first place, was because it's not reserved for these elite, the talent, the red carpet actors. It should be, everyone should get a chance to get up and say some lines, or make a costume, or light something. And it's to do with community involvement. So it's why I hired mainly talented people who didn't have a lot of acting experience, and that's been really valuable for them. And I hope to make more productions in the future, and with a variety of different styles and methods. I've already got some other ideas for plays that we could stage. This was really like a sort of introduction to Koh Phangan. Here we are. This is what we want to do. Can we make this a regular thing? Who else is interested? And I'd like to even branch that out into workshops as well, workshops for the voice, for public speaking, for acting, scene studies, character studies, and just show that we are here, we're part of the community, and we want to contribute, and we want to help. So that's so the plan is to make it an institution of Koh Phangan, a theatre school, a theatre company. Constantly telling these stories that need to be told.
It's amazing, because we were having the same conversation with Victoria recently, indeed, that it would be, our dream would be to have some sort of Academy of Arts center in Koh Phangan, where you have a trendy cafe restaurant downstairs where people can hang out and have a overpriced cappuccino. And then upstairs, you have indeed a full theater where we can do musicals, we can do plays, the choir can be there, of course improv theater, which is growing on the island, can also be there, and of course with your background and your creativity, it's I think we can all pull together and try to do something that would be very
I think that's the perfect opportunity to collaborate, and I definitely will be speaking to Victoria and you more to make this dream a reality. I think
because Koh Phangan is the island for it. I think
it really
it's
is
a unique place in the world that attracts so many international people. Many of them on a quest for healing, personal development, spiritual development, but also creativity.
So much.
And I think the island has got the potential to actually be the place for such a thing. Like a theater company, and the fact that you have experience. Indirectly, but still, where you were brought up and born into the theater in a way, that's amazing, right? Like it's extremely valuable experience. Me myself, I'm an amateur. I love doing it. I'm at the beginning. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. But I want to learn more and more. So I really hope that you put up a second play very soon.
Yes, absolutely.
And let's see if I can maybe have a little part in this.
I would love that. I would love that. Well, I did offer one earlier, but you were unavailable at the time.
Oh yeah.
I was very interested in having you read for it. And I do I absolutely implore everyone who has even the slightest interest to get involved in theatre in some way to get in touch, and I would love to explore that passion and interest and help you develop it. So yeah.
That's awesome, you know, we are very privileged to have you here indeed, and teach us, art, performing arts and acting. And indeed, we are looking forward to the play, so 3 dates,
yep.
Wednesday, Thursday and Friday
Yep.
in Gerance.
25th, 26th, 27th, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can get your tickets contacting through me or through one of my team. We also have an online booking system. You can go to Mimi's Cafe or you can book at Jaran's on the night.
That's lovely. More information in the description. And well, Bill, thank you very much for this little chat.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck for Wednesday. I'm gonna be there.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Cool.